Hello guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, and today we're going to be doing another Fire Force review. Today we're going to be looking at the fourth arc in the series, which is called the Preacher Search arc, which I think is not a properly translated title because in the manga they call what I can think of the Preacher as the Evangelist. So it would be the Evangelist Search arc, but I think this is a badly titled arc because it doesn't really deal with them. It would be more like the company gathering arc or something like that. It should have a different name because, yes, technically it is about searching for the evangelist or the preacher, but it's mostly about combining the forces of everyone, of all of the companies, in order to get them to go, and also in order to tell us the origin of Company 8. So maybe it would have been better if it was called the Company 8 origin story or something like that. You know, it had something to do with what actually happens instead of what it's ultimately supposed to be about, right? So yeah, it happens between these two segments here, between chapters 33 and 39, because yeah, XXX 1X would be 3 10s plus 9. So yeah, it's between 33 and 39. Sorry, I had to do some conversions there because these titles and these chapters are given in Roman numerals for some reason. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about the book facts. You don't really need to know that at this point. So yeah, the premise, like I said, is that it's time to gather all of the companies in order to start searching for the evangelist. But mostly it actually ends up being a Company 8 origin story. So the plotline here opens with the Japanese emperor of the time, which actually looks more like a pope or something like that, because this is kind of supposed to be this kind of post-apocalyptic world where things are different from how they used to be. And one of those differences is that Japan is ultimately highly westernized. But also they have their own sun religion due to the fact of, infernals and human combustion, right? So yeah, this Japanese emperor that looks like a pope gathers everyone. They tell them, hey, we need to get all of the companies here. And so then we switch over to Company 8, who all go to this massive solar power plant called Amaterasu, which looks really cool, kind of futuristic, but also not too much, which I quite like. I think that's quite good. And then they meet the other company captains, who then meet with the emperor. And then there's a light element here of conflict, and also there's a talk about the Adola burst, and then they go back home. And the Adola burst is basically this pure flame that I mentioned before. Eventually, Shinra actually ends up meeting the Joker, which is that one guy that initially started all of the issues when the companies had their rookie games early on in the story. They meet, and then Joker tells Shinra that his younger brother Sho is actually the leader of the Evangelist, or the White Hoods as they're calling them, and that he is, a meaningful member of them, and that if Shinra keeps pulling on the string that is the Evangelist, he'll eventually reach his brother. And so that's pretty cool. Then Company 8 goes over their old records, and eventually we get the backstory of them and how they came to be. And once they go through the records, they actually figure out that, hey, the first thing that we dealt with as Company 8 was someone that was dressed in white. There was this red cross that we couldn't track down, and the situation was very weird. And so they realized that there's something wrong, and that they also have to go to a specific place, and that would be Asasuka, which is where Company 7 lives. And so that's kind of the ending there. But the backstory here is that Hinawa was actually a military man, and he had a friend called Tojo. And this friend also knew Maki Oze. And so they're kind of connected vaguely. Eventually, Hinawa and his friend are talking about, guns and getting their guns baptized so that they can, do what they need to do. Toho tells Hinawa that if he ever does turn infernal, he wants it to be with a baptized gun. And this comes to play later because he actually does go infernal. He does combust, and Hinawa can't kill him because he's like, okay, my gun isn't baptized, and my friend wished that would want that to be baptized, and so he was frozen in fear and sadness, and he couldn't pull the trigger. And eventually his friend just got super murdered by this other group of people that showed up. And this leads Hinawa to get his friend's gun, but also to start caring about that stuff, and to meeting Captain Obi, who is a normal firefighter who has to deal with the fact that the Blue Stripes, the Fire Force people, the fire soldiers, actually don't care about saving lives. They care just about having fun killing these things. And so this makes Captain Obi decide to create his own company. And so Maki gets pulled in, and then their first case was weird, which then ties back into the issue about going to Asasuka in order to find out more information, right? So there you go. Then Shinra shares the information about his brother with the rest of the crew, and they all decide to help him on his journey to go find his brother. And overall, I really enjoyed this chapter, or this part of the story, this arc of the story, quite a bit myself as well, because I just had a lot of interest in finding out how the company was formed, and the information that we got about it and the origin story behind them is quite good. I quite liked it. In terms of characters, we have Sho, who is the first one that's introduced, and we get to learn about the Company 8, and we also learn a lot about the new captains, or the other captains, as well as Japanese Emperor. In terms of world building, we get the Adola Burst, we get the origins of Company number 8, sorry, not Captain, Company. We see that Japan is in the solar era, and we get to learn about Amaterasu and how basically everything has to do with solar power or solar energy or fire energy in some way. So there you go. And then we get a little bit more about the evangelists, which may or may not be important. It really depends on how they handle it, because usually we get very quick burst of world building for the evangelist, and then it doesn't really pan out to mean much yet. So there you go. In terms of art and fan service, very good art. There's no fan service, so that's cool. It's kind of one of those moments where there's a reprieve because the fan service just can't be fit in anywhere, and that's cool. Rating choice a 4 out of 5. Good origin story overall. I quite liked it, but it isn't really my favorite. So far, Fire Force is something I quite enjoy, but something that really isn't blowing my socks off. Like, it isn't really appealing to me in terms of like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever, right? Like, it doesn't hit the same way Black Clover or early My Hero Academia did, or, you know, other stuff like Witch Hat and stuff like that. And I think mostly because of the way in how Atsushi Okubo kind of writes. If I remember correctly, there's also an interview between Okubo and Hiromashima that happens in this part of the story, or it might have happened in the next arc, but it was quite good, so I will mention it in the next arc, because I did just check, and it is in the Company 7 arc, so I'll mention it there. So there you go, that's my review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you did, and thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.